All right, everybody, we're going to go ahead and get started this evening. Thank you all so much. There's almost 400 of you all across the state that have joined us tonight, and we are so grateful for each and every single one of you and what you're doing right now to be with us. First and foremost, we're going to just give some information about what's happening because we cannot start this call tonight without talking about what's happening in Charlotte, North Carolina right now and what we're seeing in reportings, hearing, and reportings from Asheville and other places across the state like Hampson County that have seen the horrific Border Patrol and ICE raids that we have witnessed across our communities at this moment in time. I'm going to pull up our slideshow and we're going to see and give you all some of the resources from on the ground and what you all can do to help folks right now, because we do have masked and armed agents that have been coming into our cities and unconstitutionally arresting people who are U.S. citizens. And this is about the safety of our communities and each and every single one of us. And so if I could get my slideshow to pop up by chance. So this is something we're going to be sending out to folks, but it is the report sightings. Siembra, North Carolina is a 501c4 on the ground right now that has done incredible work across the state to make sure that they are actively, reporting ICE agents and where there are sightings of Border Patrol around Charlotte and the communities across North Carolina. There's a website here that you can go to report sightings if you are in that area, and then also ways that you can be involved in the future. I really highly suggest that anybody on here right now would be able to follow Siembra, though, NC. They are the ones that are really leading the fight on the front lines. And then also Carolina Migrant Network has done incredible work throughout Mecklenburg County today. And also we are uplifting people like Councilman JD, who just got on there from Mecklenburg, who's done incredible work, and also State Representative Jordan Lopez and people like Representative Aisha Du, who have been on the front lines at press conferences, making sure that people know that folks in Charlotte have representatives that are trying to reinforce the law and keep people safe across their communities. But I really wanted folks to be able to hear this from us tonight, that we don't condone anything of what's happening right now in our state, and that this party does stand with our immigrant communities today who are expressing and who are feeling the hurt that we all are right now across our state. So we have to start this call here tonight. And we are also going to hopefully give you all some of the uplift of what happened in North Carolina this last year. And we're going to be able to really think about what's happening going forward, because our courts are also a huge decision factor in what happens in the future. And so are the people that are going to be on the front lines of defending against federal administrations from coming in like this into your cities and into your communities. And that means that it's going to be your municipal elections, the folks that are the local elected leaders who, to me, are going to be the ones championing your rights on the ground each and every day against this administration, and also are willing to do the work that we need to see. And so I'm going to go into a little bit about the highlights from Democratic wins across North Carolina from the 2025 election cycle. And I know that this is going to be a little bit of a shift, and so I do apologize for the sort of takeaway of that. But we are going to be able to send out the slide about resources for you all, and then also dropping in the chat box ways that you can help Siembra, North Carolina too right now with supporting them and signing up for trainings if you are in Charlotte or surrounding communities that have been impacted. But North Carolina did do incredible things this last year, and that means that we had 250,000 calls made for municipal elections, which does not happen in a year like 2025 typically for the state. It was 3 times as much as we had in the 2023 cycle, and we were really excited to see municipal turnout up across North Carolina from not just our urban communities, but also our rural ones as well. And so we saw 250,000 doors knocked, which is incredible. Thank you to all of the canvassers, because we saw races that were won by less than 10 votes in North Carolina this year. And that was each and every single one of you getting out and pulling those folks to the polls on election day, or making that connection with them at the doors a few weeks before, or even the year before. If you were some people like Beth Kennett, who won a mayoral race in Burlington and had been out there a year before her election had started, talking to community members about what they wanted to see their city really become. And I think that we saw that across North Carolina from folks who were willing to do that hard work. We had 160 seats flipped, which meant that we saw red to blue races, and almost 2/3 of the districts that we had races in this year were Trump-leaning districts. Then next slide. 630 races were won overall, though, which means that we were able to see incredible community buildups in places that were not only are small, but also large. And that was very cool to see, especially people like Kimberly Owens, who beat out the last Bakari that had to get out on that Charlotte City Council, and Democrats sent them packing. And it was really exciting to see. So shout out Mecklenburg County, and thank you to partners like the SCIU who came out and knocked doors, because we really appreciated it. And we have on here tonight one of our fantastic winners of one of our elections, Mickey Smith out of Jacksonville and Onslow County. Like I said, Mike Johnson liked to say that this only happened on Tuesday night in blue areas, and Mickey Smith is definitely the one to tell you why this happened in a rural and a red place like Onslow County in that sense too. So Mickey, I'm going to ask you to come on up here for us, or Councilwoman is what I should say in that sense. Councilwoman Smith, would you come up here for us and maybe tell us a little bit about your win and why you were excited to get out here and run this year in 2025 for your municipal elections?
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am, we can.
Awesome. Awesome. Thank you, Anderson, for being, for just starting this whole night out, just hyped. I mean, I love your energy. And, I really believe that that's what it took to move forth in winning the seat here in Onslow County. I can tell you, I could not have done it without the help from the North Carolina Democratic Party. I mean, from the training that went on to the vote builder program, to even having individuals from the corporate level to come down and help me canvass. I tell you, it has been a star-studded moment. Um, I owe it all to getting out there, knocking on those doors. Well, let me say this: I owe it to the Lord, because God did this. No one else could have done this. There's absolutely no way I could have even fathomed this moment happening in my life had it not been for Him, and letting me know that the importance of getting out there and letting the people see you. I've been here in Jacksonville since 2003, and I've witnessed several elections, whether it's the city, whether it's the county. And honestly, I saw the signs go out, but not really major campaigning. I do know that last election we did see, but only because I knew individuals personally. I did see a lot of forums and different events that they spoke at. But nothing is like showing up at someone's door, knocking on their door, knowing their name, calling them by name, and just engaging in a conversation and just encouraging them to come out and vote. And one of the things I've learned with Onslow County is a lot of individuals don't care much for early voting, but my argument to that is not that people don't come out early to vote, is that we're not doing voter education like we should. We need to do that more, and the more education that's out there, the more people will turn out. And I say that because individuals did not know what ward they stayed in. They didn't know if they were county or city, and we're talking about literally going across the street. They could be county and city. So we did have a lot of that coming out there to the polls. But I tell you, I'm just so excited about the win, but more so excited about being able to represent the underheard population of Jacksonville, but at the same time, just being that voice for them, and making sure that I'm getting information back to their ear. Just like going out and canvassing, getting out there to see them, I'm learning that even when it comes to being an elected official, we can't always expect them to come to City Hall. We got to go out there to them. So I'm looking forward to that aspect of being a councilwoman here in big city of Jacksonville.
Thank you so much, Councilwoman, for being here tonight, for sharing that story with us, and thank you for running for office. We know that is a hard challenge to do, and also something that it takes a lot to put yourself out there, and I think you did it in an incredible way. So thank you for fighting for your community so much. We appreciate you. And folks, also shout out to our Onslow County Democratic Party Chair, Tanyetta Hill. She's done such an incredible job at making sure that we have people and representatives on the ground. And shout out to all of my county party chairs and my precinct chairs, my unpaid laborers of the party who help everybody be able to do what they do. I'm sitting in the Forsyth County Democratic Party headquarters right now, so shout out to Jenny and Jeff Marshall. And I'm very grateful to the folks that work hard on our party's behalf and make sure that they have what they need. And thank you to the volunteers and the canvassers who went out this year with us and knocked doors for our municipal elections and gave us those great wins. We also, though, want to see some more great wins, and that means looking ahead to 2026 because 2025 set the battleground zone and the testing zone for what was to happen for 2026 elections. And let me tell y'all what, it looked real good, and it looked real good across the state. And so tonight, what we're going to be able to see is I'm going to turn it over to Becca Zirkin, who's going to, our fantastic judicial director at the state party, but who's going to lead you all through a little bit more about the field team program for our judicial races in the state. Because as you all know, we need to win back the North Carolina State Supreme Court, and we also need to win back the North Carolina State Court of Appeals. And so tonight you're going to hear from some fantastic folks, but Becca, I'm going to let you take it away first.
Thank you so much, Anderson, and thank you, Councilwoman-elect Smith. Congratulations. Hi, everyone. I am so pleased to see 600 of us here tonight. And before we hear from the candidates, as Anderson hinted at, I want to make sure everyone knows, first of all, about the basics of our appellate courts. But I have a little spoiler alert, which is that after you hear from our judicial candidates tonight, we're going to introduce Field Team Justice, a brand new, anytime, anywhere canvassing initiative to get out on the doors for the judges in early 2026, because you heard Councilwoman-elect Smith, that's what we have to do. It's all going to kick off on January 28th, and Jonah Garson's going to share a lot more details about that a little bit later in the program, so sit tight for that. So here goes a lightning round of North Carolina Judicial Elections 101. In North Carolina, we have two kinds of courts that we elect statewide. They are the appellate courts, which means they hear appeals. They are the state Supreme Court and the Court of Appeals. The candidates run in partisan races for 8-year terms, so these elections have consequences for a really long time. And since we elect them statewide, they cannot be gerrymandered, and all of us in North Carolina can vote for them. So as Anderson has told us many times, taking back our Supreme Court is critical, with impacts at both the state and federal levels that you will hear more about. Our state Supreme Court has 7 justices, and right now the court has only 2 Democrats on it. Our champion, Justice Allison Riggs, who recently defeated Jefferson Griffin after a grueling legal battle, and the amazing Justice Anita Earls, who, if you didn't know, was rumored to be on the short list for the U.S. Supreme Court, and her seat is up in 2026. Can we advance a couple slides forward? In 2028, we can take 3 more seats on the court, and that means we would have a Democratic majority in place before the next round of redistricting, and that could change our state and our country for decades to come. And the Chief Justice decides which cases the Supreme Court hears. So we look forward to replacing Justice Paul Newby in 2028. Now let's talk about the Court of Appeals. There are 15 seats on the Court of Appeals, and they hear cases in panels of 3. In 2026, the only 3 seats up for election are the 3 Democrats, Judge John Arrowood and Judge Toby Hampson, who are both running again, and you're going to hear from them soon, and Judge Allegra Collins, who's decided not to run again next year, and we're really, really grateful to her for her dedicated service to our state for these years. So Judge Christine Walcyzk and attorney James Whalen are running for that open seat, and they are out there really early letting everybody know about the importance of the Court of Appeals, which is wonderful, and you'll get to hear from them tonight too. But we do need more than 3 seats on this court to uphold our democracy. And in 2028, we're going to get that chance because we're going to have 5 open seats, which means we can elect 5 more Democrats. And one of those seats is currently held by Jefferson Griffin. And that is a race I especially look forward to winning. So now you know the basics. You're going to hear from all of these wonderful candidates shortly. Justice Anita Earls, Judge John Arrowood, Judge Toby Hampson, both of them are the incumbents on our Court of Appeals, and Judge Christine Walcyzk and James Whalen, who will be on your primary ballot for the Court of Appeals in March. And I am now going to pass it to Dr. Kimberly Hardy, our second vice chair, to introduce the Justice Anita Earls.
Thanks, Becca. Hi, everybody. I think we know right now more than ever how important the courts are. Have always been really important to us historically for moving our society forward in the spirit of progress and justice. And it's more important now than ever that we ensure that we do exactly what that blueprint is that Becca just listed out for all of us, to make sure that we focus on the courts. I am so proud of this state party. We have put so much emphasis on the courts for the last couple of years. And as you can see, that is more important than ever, like I said. So we're really excited that we have a champion at the top of our judicial ballot right now, whose accomplishments are so significant. Even I had to take some notes on it. She has been a civil rights attorney, the executive director of the Southern Coalition for Social Justice, deputy assistant attorney general for the Civil Rights Division of the Department of Justice during the Clinton administration. And in 2018, she was able to defeat the incumbent Republican to win her seat on the Supreme Court. And we are going to do absolutely everything we can to ensure that she stays there again in 2026. Her role is pivotal. We need her there, and the party is going to do everything we can to make sure it happens. I am so humbled that I get the opportunity to introduce you all to Associate Justice Anita Earls.
Well, good evening, and thank you so much for that kind introduction. Thank all of you for being here. I'm going to be very brief to keep us moving, but I want to thank Anderson for starting out with acknowledging what's happening in Charlotte. And as a former civil rights attorney, and as someone who is sworn to uphold the state and federal constitutions, I want you all to know that I am watching what is happening, and I am deeply concerned about the violation of constitutional rights, and in particular the way in which that is putting every Hispanic-looking person in our state in fear of going outside their home, going to work, shopping for food, getting medical attention. I think we should not overlook the impact that this is having on so many of our neighbors, and understand, again, as someone who was in the U.S. Department of Justice, I'm appalled at the fact that these agents are being pulled off of work that would have them investigating sex trafficking and child abuse and terrorism. So I consider it a very strong, tough on crime position to be saying that the current priorities are not the ones that keep us safe, and that pulling agents off that important work for political theater and to put an entire segment of our community as scapegoats and in fear to go out of their homes is just not what we are as a nation. So why does the North Carolina Supreme Court matter in all of this? And let me just tell you that because of this effort is not just coming from the federal government. Because of state laws recently passed, it is my understanding that now district court judges and magistrates are supposed to inquire into the citizenship of anyone who they think looks like not a citizen, which is a mandate to racially profile. So a lot of troubling things that are happening that I feel we all have to be aware of and be ready to stand up as allies and speak out against. If you care about gerrymandering in our state, I promise you that the only way to correct it is through our state courts. And in 2022, the democratically controlled court said that extreme partisan gerrymandering violates your rights under the state constitution. We also said that schools needed to be properly funded under the Leandro litigation. We said that a racially discriminatory voter ID measure should not be put into effect. All of that got overturned when our courts became switched in January of 2023. So I hope I've given you a sense of the really important things that our court is deciding. And as you're talking to voters about me, I hope that what you'll remind them about is both my record as defending people's rights and standing up for the rights of all people in this country, but also the importance of balance and the importance of having a state Supreme Court that holds the legislature accountable to the state constitution. My opponent, Sarah Stevens, is a 16-year member of the legislature, and there's no reason to believe that she would vote in any way other than the Republican colleagues on my court who have, remember, 4 of the Republicans on our court voted to throw out the ballots of military and overseas voters in the 2024 election. The great news is that while we know this election will be close, Remember that Sherry Beasley lost by only 401 votes, which is fewer than the number of people on the Zoom, and that Justice Riggs won by 734. We know that 2026 will be close, and the vote suppression measures that they tried to apply retroactively can now be applied proactively. In other words, we do need to make sure that every voter has their last four of their social or their driver's license in their voter registration database. We need to be concerned about database matching and other efforts to knock people off the voter registration rolls. And we will need every volunteer ready to help chase and cure ballots after the election in 2026. So that is why I am so grateful to each one of you for being here tonight, for getting engaged, being involved. And I know that the future of our courts and the future of our state, indeed the future of our democracy, is in your hands. And I'm just so thrilled that you're ready to stand with us. With that, I am going to introduce one of our incredible jurists on the North Carolina Court of Appeals. And what he's going to tell you about his background, I'm sure. But one thing that I haven't heard Judge John Arrowood brag about that I want to brag on him for is that in 2024 he won recognition as the LGBTQ inducted into the LGBTQ plus Political Hall of Fame, national recognition for the fact that he was the first openly LGBTQ individual to be elected statewide in North Carolina. He has served ably on the Court of Appeals and is an incredible candidate for us to campaign with in 2026. So with that, I'll turn it over to Judge Arrowood.
Thank you, Justice Earls. It's a pleasure to be with all of you tonight. And thank you for giving of your time to come and to listen about why judicial races are so important. I will tell you that I am speaking to you from my home in Charlotte, where the fear in our communities is palpable, and where business owners who have been here for years and who are citizens and who are pillars of this community have been forced to close their businesses because of what's going on. So I urge you to be the eyes and ears of what's going on in your communities. It is absolutely critical, my friends, for us to have an independent judiciary who's committed to equal justice under the law. Some people who are committed to their oath to render justice fairly and without favor to the state or to any individual, and not come with an agenda. It is absolutely critical that you have folks who have experience and who have integrity and who've shown courage in their life. You may ask, everyone knows why the Supreme Court is so important, but you may ask, what does the Court of Appeals matter, or what does it do that affects everyday lives? Because of what the legislature did in 2023, doing away with the automatic right to appeal, we at the Court of Appeals decide more than 90% of the cases we are the court of last resort. What kind of cases? We hear every criminal case except for those where the death penalty has been imposed. We hear all the civil cases except those from the business court. We hear all the family court cases, cases from administrative agencies such as workers' comp, licensing. All of those things come to us except for general rate cases from the Utilities Commission. So we have a broad range of what we do, and any three-judge panel, if they publish an opinion, can lock the law in for other panels, and until there's an en banc or the Supreme Court overturns it, we are bound by those cases. So that is why who sits on your court matters so much. Now let me tell you a little bit about me. I was born in rural Yancey County. I lived there until I was 15. My mother died of breast cancer. My father died of a brain hemorrhage a couple of months apart, and I went to live with my brother in Lenore. He was a state trooper, and he and his wife and 7-month-old daughter took me in and made a home for me until I finished law school. I am a product of the public schools of this state, and I understand how important it is that we support education, because education is the driving force to help make our children's lives better than ours. I went to college in Salisbury, Catawba, graduated magna cum laude. I was at law school at Chapel Hill. After law school, I clerked at the Court of Appeals, was a staff attorney, and I was the head of the staff of lawyers. And I then worked in Charlotte for 26 years doing civil and commercial litigation, representing both individuals and companies, representing plaintiffs and defendants in various civil and administrative law matters. I've been a Superior Court judge for a short period of time, and I've been pleased to be on our Court of Appeals. I've written over 600 opinions. You can see what I'm like. You may not agree with all of them. I probably don't even agree with all of them. But as I said, because we're bound by previous things that other people have said. But it is absolutely critical for you to know that without your help, Justice Earls, Judge Hampson, nor I will be able to stay. Without your commitment to talk to your friends and neighbors, to talk to the folks in your houses of worship, talk to the folks in your civic club, talk to all of the people that you deal with about why these elections are so important and why it is so important to have an independent judiciary committed to equal justice under the law. Thank you for this opportunity. If you want to know more about me, you can find that on my website at keepjudgearrowood.com. I need your help. I solicit your support, your vote, your dollars. And it is now my pleasure to introduce my colleague at the Court of Appeals, Judge Toby Hampson. Judge Hampson had clerked at the court for a couple of judges. He was a well-known appellate practice specialist before he came. I've had the pleasure of serving with him for the past 7 years, and you should have no doubt as to his abilities. Just look at his dissent in the Justice Riggs case. Judge Hampson.
Well, thank you, and good evening. I am Judge Toby Hampson, one of your statewide elected North Carolina Court of Appeals judges. It has been my absolute honor to serve you for the last 7 years, and I'm so ready to run for re-election in 2026 alongside this amazing slate of candidates. Because more than ever, we need judges who are willing to stand up for your basic constitutional rights and fundamental freedoms. Because we know these are anxious times. We see it on our streets today. Our basic rights, like due process, freedom of speech, even the right to vote, feel like they are under constant threat. But these times call for us to be bold, to be brave, and for courts that stand up in the face of injustice. And so that's why when Republican colleagues on my court were willing to put in place a process that had the potential to disenfranchise over 68,000 lawful North Carolina voters, including our neighbors here at home, as well as our military members serving overseas, I was proud to stand in dissent and say, you don't change the rules of the election after votes have been cast, counted, and canvassed. And you see, that's why I'm running for re-election, because I believe we need judges that are willing to protect our communities and protect our basic rights. Courts only work when they serve the people and not extreme partisan agendas. So here's what we're going to do in 2026. We're going to re-elect Justice Anita Earls to the North Carolina Supreme Court. We're going to re-elect Judge John Arrowood to his seat on the Court of Appeals. With your help, with your support, with your votes, I hope you'll re-elect me to the North Carolina Court of Appeals. You can find more about me and join our campaign at judgetobyhampson.com. I really appreciate everyone being on tonight and appreciate the time, because we're going to do this. We're going to win these seats, and we're going to do it together. Now, there's one more thing I'm going to ask you to do. I'm going to ask you to help us hold this critical third seat on the North Carolina Court of Appeals. And we've got two fantastic candidates running for that seat. And it is my absolute honor to introduce my friends, Judge Christine Walcyzk, a Wake County District Court judge, and attorney James Whalen, who's also served in the Attorney General's office as a Solicitor General Fellow. And so with that, I'm going to turn it over to Judge Christine Walcyzk. Thank you and have a great evening.
Well, good evening, everybody. I am so thrilled to be here with you tonight to celebrate your successes and to feel the momentum that you guys have created by volunteering, contributing, and by voting. My name is Judge Christine Walcyzk, and I've been honored to serve as a trial judge in Wake County for more than 18 years. And before that, I spent more than a decade running my own law firm with Senator Lisa Grafstein. In 2026, I'm running for the open seat on the Court of Appeals. And the Court of Appeals is our intermediate level appellate court, one that makes critical decisions about housing rights, workers' rights, your right to parent and educate your children, and sometimes your right to vote. Now, this is a statewide race that cannot be gerrymandered, and these races have been decided by razor-thin margins, sometimes as little as 401 votes out of millions. So each and every vote is going to matter. Now, look, we're in extraordinary times, and I believe that you deserve skilled and experienced judges that are prepared and willing to safeguard your individual liberties without bias and without bending to the pressure of public opinion or special interest. I've seen firsthand how the people of North Carolina have been impacted by our laws, and I have issued thousands of opinions in my time on the bench. And I can tell you that being an appellate judge has got to be more than a political aspiration. It requires a serious work ethic, the ability to navigate a broad range of laws and to write well-reasoned decisions with clarity and purpose. We've all witnessed the attacks on the judiciary, and we've seen the efforts to strip power from judges and courts. And we know that dark money is attempting to buy these judicial seats, and that some people are trying to politicize the courts for their own power. But these are your courts, and I believe that you know how to protect them. Justice Riggs and Justice Earls have been fighting for you every day, and I believe that women will continue to safeguard and protect this institution. If you want strength, resilience, fairness, and conviction, then you want more women in the courtroom and more women on the bench. When I win this race, I will be the only Democratic woman left on the court of 15 persons. I can promise you this: no one is going to outwork me in this race. I will not rest until we win this open seat, and I will not take my foot off the gas until we have a balanced court that you can trust and that looks a little more like the diverse state of North Carolina. I want you to know that I believe in the rule of law. I believe in due process. I believe in equal access to justice and equal protection under the law. And I believe in judicial independence and in protecting individual liberties that our constitutions guarantee. I believe in honesty, integrity, accountability, transparency, and basic human kindness. You can read more about me at judgechristine.org. I'm endorsed by many former appellate judges like Chief Justice Sherry Beasley, Justice Robin Hudson, Chief Judge Linda McGee, Judge Chris Brook, Judge Reuben Young, and more. I welcome the opportunity to earn your support, and I am ready to work with you to protect this sacred institution. So thank you so much for having me here tonight, and I want to pass it on to James Whalen. Thank you so much.
Thank you all so much, and thank you for joining us. I know that Ken Burns's American Revolution is going to start any minute, and thank you so much for being here before we watch American history to be part of American history, because that's what we're doing. We've seen in my home city of Charlotte, as everybody has already acknowledged, what happens when our leaders are not faithful to the rule of law and do not respect our fundamental rights. And we have to have judges that will hold our leaders accountable when they don't do that. I have a little bit of experience there. And if you've heard me talk for more than 5 seconds, you probably know that I'm one of the attorneys that helped defend Allison Riggs's win and stop a dangerous attempt to steal an election in plain sight. We have to build the momentum that Justice Riggs built for us through 2026 and into 2028. But it's not just about building the momentum, and defending our right to vote. I want to be clear that when we were driving from Fayetteville to Charlotte to Oxford and Wilson and Asheville and Wilmington, I didn't know if the votes I was going to go defend, if those were Democrats or Republicans. I didn't know if they had voted for Justice Riggs or not. All I knew is that they had followed the rules and they were entitled to dignity and respect and to have their votes count. That's what our appellate courts decide. And it's more than just the right to vote, and it's more than just gerrymandering, which I fought when I was in the Department of Justice. It's also about our schools. And for me, that is personal. You probably know about Leandro. I'm a Leandro kid. I grew up in North Carolina's underfunded public schools. I grew up with the broken constitutional promise. And now I got my own kids. I got a 4-year-old and I got one on the way. And when they go to North Carolina's public schools, if we don't do anything new, they're going to start in a public school that has the worst situation it has ever had. Record teacher vacancies. We can do better, but we can't wait another 30 years for judges that are willing to uphold our Constitution's promise to its children of fully funded public schools. So I hope you'll support me in March. Again, I'm James Whalen. I'm running for the Court of Appeals. And after March, we will build a team that can win in 26 and win back our courts in 28. Thanks so much.
Thank you so much, James. Thank you so much, Judge Walcyzk. And thank you to Judge Hampson, Judge Arrowood, Justice Anita Earls, everybody. I hope that you all just got a good dose of what is to come in 2026, because we are now again off to the races, as they would say. So I'm excited to touch on a little bit and I'm going to bring up our first Vice Chair, Jonah Garson, to walk you all through some action items, some call to actions that we have here for you all tonight that you can be a part of over the next few months and also into next year to make sure that we are helping get this fantastic slate of folks elected. But we also want to touch on, and I saw her in the chat box earlier, a very big shout out to Justice Allison Riggs, because that was won by 734 votes, almost the number of people that we have on this call here tonight. We know that margins in North Carolina are won and lost, or elections in North Carolina are won and lost on the margins in this state. And we're really, really grateful to the folks that are on here tonight who are saying, we know right now that we have got to keep powering through and making sure that we keep our boots on the ground year round in North Carolina and not let our foot off the gas once. And so, Jonah Garson, if you want to come on up, and then I think we're going to start our slideshow back up and we're going to walk you all through some of the action items that you can take here with us today.
Thank you, Chair Clayton. Everyone, thank you so much for being here. Looking at the list of the 631 participants who are here this evening, I know that many of y'all who are here had a hand personally in delivering the Riggs victory last year and this year, those 734 votes, and supporting the litigation that came after. So I'll just begin by saying thank you. And I'm going to hazard a guess that many of y'all are already savvy to this fight and know why the judicial fight is our #1 objective as a North Carolina Democratic Party, as North Carolina Democrats. But I want to do 3 things, okay? The calls to action are mine to go over this evening. I'm very excited about it. The first one of those is to make sure that you memorize and rememorize and know like the back of your hand our plan to take back the courts. The second, we have a plan to get you involved right away in talking to voters about the plan to take back the courts, beginning immediately, okay, and running for the next 6 months. We'll go over that plan and we'll have sign-up links ready to go. Number 3, all of this, all of what we're doing here for these judicial races takes resources and funds that don't usually get to the judicial races like they need to. We know in North Carolina that winning back our judiciary is a key to unlocking fair democracy, and also in things that are immensely important to us, like fully funded public education, okay? So I'm gonna go over those 3. I wanna begin, know the plan, okay? We have a plan to get us from 2026 through 2028 and retaking the courts. You already know that step 1 was electing Justice Allison Riggs and defending that seat. Check. Y'all did it. We did it together. Many, many, many hands and a lot of sweat and some tears, okay? Where we are right now is that Republicans still have a 5-2 majority on our state Supreme Court. This Republican majority is totally fine with gerrymandering. They said political gerrymandering under our state constitution, which, by the way, folks, is just proxy racial gerrymandering, is totally fine. They reversed the prior court in an unprecedented move. I'm an attorney. The idea that you take up the same case that was just heard and simply reverse the court right before you on the same case, that's wild, okay? So that's the current state of affairs. 2026, next slide. We must re-elect Justice Anita Earls. I want everyone here, instead of when you breathe the name Roy Cooper, I want you all to say to yourself, Justice Anita Earls. Don't let any friends and family say the name Roy Cooper over the next year without saying Justice Anita Earls, okay? We must re-elect Justice Anita Earls. We must treat her like the top of our ticket in 2026. In 2028, we have the opportunity to flip the court back to a Democratic majority that is going to do what it did back before 2023, which is to say, partisan gerrymandering, racial gerrymandering is unconstitutional under our state constitution. They will unrig our maps and allow us to have fair congressional maps, fair state legislative maps, which will unlock all sorts of outcomes for the political branches of government, but also will allow, for instance, finally, realization of the promise of Leandro, of fully funded public schools under our state constitution. So I look forward to that term in 2029 when that Democratic majority on that court finally restores democracy and we are able to finally progress on substantive policy issues. Okay, so put the plan on your fridge. We know it's great to rehearse this plan on these Zoom calls. Y'all are a self-selecting 622 folks getting on a Zoom call on a Sunday evening. We need this plan to be everywhere, to live everywhere. If you go to ncdp.org/print, link in the chat right now, you will be rerouted to a fridge-ready plan that you can distribute. We encourage you to put it on your fridge. We encourage you to just randomly flyer your nearest shopping mall. I'm sort of kidding about that. We encourage you, though, to print these suckers and to memorize this plan like the back of your hand. Okay, number one was knowing the plan. Number two, and this is the most important thing, I think, of all the calls to action, we need to start talking to voters about the plan, and we need to do it right away. At the very top of this program, you heard from Council Member-elect of Jacksonville, North Carolina, Marine veteran Mickey Smith, who told you about the power and importance of talking to voters at their doors. We have good data, empirical data from across North Carolina that confirms what we already know, which is there is no more powerful way of convincing someone to participate in our democracy and to vote, no more powerful mode of civic education than canvassing, than getting out on doors, and you do not need experience to do it. We have a lot of opportunities that we need you right now to commit to over the next 6 months. The first of these opportunities comes in the form of a registration repair canvass, and that will be on December 13th across the state. Again, looking at the people on this call, I know many of you all participated in September with the North Carolina Democratic Party and your county parties in registration repair work. Well, we looked at the data for that work. And by the way, just as an aside, for those of you who are like, what is he talking about, registration repair? As a reminder, Judge Griffin challenged the voter registrations of thousands, tens of thousands, over 100,000 North Carolina voters on the theory that there was something wrong with those registrations. There was nothing wrong with those registrations, but our GOP hijacked Board of Elections, after we won that litigation, said, yes, we need those voter registrations for all these voters who have been voting for years in North Carolina with no problem. We need them fixed. We need people to provide some social security information, number information, some driver's license information. So we have, since they've said that, we have gone to town and trying to reach out to those voters, doubling down on the outreach that's being done from the Board of Elections and from folks locally. We know from our registration repair work in September and ongoing work that the people we contact are 3 times more likely to actually take the steps to cure their voter registrations. And so strategically, we wanted to talk to voters about their voter registrations at the same time that the Board of Elections is sending out their latest reminder. We will also take the opportunity to talk to them about other things, including about the importance of having a fair judiciary and a judiciary that is willing to unlock the power of democracy in this state and actually protect voting rights in this state. Okay? Registration repair, even if you don't have any prior experience, we're going to use that weekend of December 13th to get you that experience. Okay, link in the chat to sign up. I hope to see a lot of y'all out there. Number 2, and this is where, if you're at home sitting at your desk, if you can give a drum roll, our big campaign, the field campaign that we want to be the largest that North Carolina has ever seen, for our judges, we're calling Field Team Justice. And we need you to be all in on this program, okay? Field Team Justice is going to be a months-long program of going out on your own time, in your own neighborhood, to talk to specifically targeted voters, Democrats and unaffiliated, about why the courts matter. And so here's how this is going to work. We are going to provide all of the trainings, all of the tools to you directly, okay? You are going to, for yourself, provide the team. You're going to provide yourself willing to knock on doors. You're going to provide your best friend who has never canvassed a day in their life before. You're going to get a couple folks from church, and you're going to get a couple folks other parents from your kids' school, and you're going to build teams of folks who are going to get together, maybe have some coffee and pastries, and go outside and load up a list on your phone and talk to the 15 people closest to where you're standing, who we've identified as people we need to talk to about the courts. Guys, we have the technology to do this. And so we are allowing you on your own time and from wherever you are to have these conversations. All right. So we are launching this program. And if you can go one slide further, we're going to be launching this program with an intensive training on January 28th at 6 p.m. I want all 616 people on this call, if they can, to register for this intensive training. Okay, this will be going over the nuts and bolts of the canvassing, the script that you're going to have, your conversation guide at doors. You're going to be going over canvassing 101. If you've never canvassed before, if you've never knocked on doors, this will be where you go over everything with our amazing training team. And this will be launched by Justice Anita Earls. In the meantime, in addition to hopefully doing the voter registration repair work on December 13th, your job is to collect your team, gather up your friends, okay, and make a schedule for yourself. Because what we're going to be doing every single month is to have a check-in and further skills training with folks who are participating in this program. So those friends who come and get trained with you sitting in your living room in front of your computer on January 28th or individually on Zoom screens, you all will go out the next weekend and you all knock doors, and then you'll maybe do it 2 other times in January, a couple other times January and February, and every single month we will get together, trade stories, and get further training, okay? So January 28th, this begins. What we ask is that the people who opt in make that commitment of 1 to 3 Canvas shifts a month, okay? There is nothing better you could be doing with your time for this cause. Use the next month and a half before the end of the year to plan when you will get those 1 to 3 shifts in, build your team, come on January 28th, ready to go. Okay, next slide. All right, so part of it, we want to figure out how to give everyone everything they need to do this canvassing program wherever they're at across the state. As a reminder, this is not a centralized program. You can literally walk outside your door with the list number and have the 15 people closest to you who we need to talk to about these judicial races. A lot of y'all want to identify yourselves as a part of this team. We have these amazing shirts that our digital team helped whip up. We encourage y'all to purchase these shirts. We're offering a discount. We're going to try to figure out other stuff we can give you to support you as you go in the ensuing months as you do this work. But feel free, go right now, get your Anita Earls swag, fresh, hot off the prints. Okay, next slide. Finally, as I said before at the top of this, resources do not flow to our judicial candidates like they should. And I think slowly Democrats across the country are waking up to the fact that an inattention to our courts has cost us dearly, dearly when it comes to fair maps, when it comes to fundamental rights and freedoms. So this is my plug, call to action, in addition to canvassing, which is still the most important thing you could do, okay? Feel free, please cut us a check or become a recurring donor, okay? We don't get money from on high from the DNC in huge amounts. We get some modest support, but so much of what we've built over the past 3 years here in North Carolina, focused on critical judicial races, is stuff we've built by our own hands and with our own funds, okay? Through individual donors. We can't take corporate money for this stuff. We can't take PAC money. It's about individual donors and a lot of small money donors, okay? So that's my third ask. If you become a donor, we have our next upcoming donor call coming up on December 3rd, and we will have Justice Anita Earls. So encourage y'all to donate or donate again and join us on that call on December 3rd. All right, y'all, I'm going to catch my breath, but I think that's it for my calls to action. By way of review, okay, number 1, learn the plan backwards and forwards. Remember, there's a printable version to put on your fridge. Number 2, take your shifts, okay? We need you to communicate the plan. Communicate the plan beginning immediately. We need you to dragoon your friends into service to get out there on the doors with you so you're not out there alone, okay? And we need you to join us at the Canvas kickoff on January 28th. The third thing is, if you're not a donor, give us all your money because we couldn't be working for a worthier cause. Justice Anita Earls, all of our judicial candidates are amazing. They are inspiring to me. And I think we can learn a lot through working on all of these races over the years to come together. All right, guys, I'm done for real. I'm going to hand things back over to Chair Anderson Clayton, who I think will take us further through the program. But thank you all so much.
Thank you so much, Jonah Garson. And I'm actually going to turn it over to our fantastic third vice chair, Elijah King, to give us some other important calls to action that we have for you about running for office, because we have a goal to make sure that we contest every race up and down the ballot in North Carolina for 26, not just our judicial races at the top of our ticket, but also looking to your county and your state legislative levels too, because they are doing some wild shit right now in our state legislature. Elijah King, I'm handing it over to you.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much. Look, I'll be super quick. I just left my shift at my local diner. Look, Jonah's right. We need you. We absolutely need you. We need you, your friends, and everybody else. I am a recently graduated college student, a part-time waiter, a young working-class kid from Durham who decided this past few months actually to run for city council. I'm not supposed to be the one holding a virtual mic at a statewide rally, but here I am. And that is exactly the point, you all. So, look, filing for the 2026 elections from judicial all the way down, statewide, all the way down to your counties, opens December 1st. So after you finish your Thanksgiving meal, think about it. Think about it. If someone like me can step up, you can too. If you've ever felt that pull that, look, maybe I should run, that feeling, that little tingle, this is your sign. North Carolina needs people, real people with lived experience. So if that spark is there, tell us. We want to support you. We want to help you over the finish line. So let's start at that link that our staff is going to put in the office, ncdp.org/runforoffice. And if you're not sure where to begin, like I was about 7 months ago, we've got trainings to walk you through it and help you build your campaign from the ground up. So sign up using the Mobilize link that staff will be putting in the chat. And whether you run, volunteer, or help someone else take that leap, remember, this is how we fight back. This is how we build power. And this is how we win and take our state back. So thank you, and thank you again. And I look forward to seeing all of you on the road soon. Bye-bye.
Thank you so much, Elijah King. I'm going to wrap it up here tonight, folks, by saying, again, please make sure that you're joining us to canvass for elections next year and our judicial races and supporting every single one of the fantastic candidates that you heard from tonight. And also to touch base even more on what Elijah King said. In 2022, the North Carolina Democratic Party had left 44 seats in the state legislature uncontested. We came back in 24 and contested all of those but 2 that independent or unaffiliated candidates ran in. We want to make sure that we are putting somebody up everywhere on the ballot because we know that Republicans have gerrymandered our state all to hell, but we also know that we saw Virginia win R+9 districts on election night because people are fed the fuck up with what Republicans are doing right now. Excuse my language for some of the folks on this call tonight, but we need to make it clear to folks across this state that we also are upset about what Republicans are doing across North Carolina and also from what we're seeing coming into our cities right now from national interest groups that have no right being on the ground in our communities. And so make sure that you're filling out, or also if you've got somebody that you would nominate to run for office, our fantastic party affairs director, Nye, is willing to reach out to them and call them. The officers on this call tonight are willing to call them and ask them to run. Your county parties want to make sure that they're getting involved and that you're running for office. And we're here to make sure that you're able to do that with the training resources, the digital resources, and the data resources to be able to help empower your campaigns to do just that. And so the other thing that I'll say to that brings it back to the judicial races is that the last time that we had contested every state legislative seat was 2018. And that was the last time that Justice Anita Earls first won her race to be on the North Carolina State Supreme Court. And the last time that we did it again was in 24 when Justice Allison Riggs won hers with contesting our state legislative seats too. So it matters everywhere that you step up. Thank you to every state legislator, every city councilor, every mayor, every county commissioner, every dog catcher I got on this call right now, to be honest with y'all. Thank you for what you do. My superior court judges, my district court judges, the folks that are working hard each and every day to represent their communities so well. We appreciate each and every single one of you and that what you're doing to fight for your communities. And so I hope that you all tonight feel empowered to go out and serve your own. And so thank you for being on here tonight, everybody. And with that, it's 7:01. I'm going to wrap us a little bit 1 minute late on the dot, but I appreciate y'all being on here tonight, folks. Thank you so much and have a good night.